Five Broken Cameras is a 2011 documentary directed by Palestinian Imad Bernat and Israeli Guy Davidi, using Bernat's own footage from his personal cameras. It tells the story of the village of Bilin and fighting against further land grabs by the Israeli state that would have harmed the villagers. The film saw great critical acclaim for its autobiographical aspect and portraying Bernat's family in the Palestinian struggle. At its heart, Five Broken Cameras is a uniquely Palestinian film that uses new advancements in filming technology to tell a story of resistance and Palestinian identity. It forces the viewer to look at the reality of Palestinian life and understand what is it that truly makes up Palestinian identity. As the technology behind cameras became smaller and easier to use, it gave rise to a new community of amateur and guerrilla filmmakers who, without the need for expensive equipment, were able to create their own independent films. With guerrilla documentaries, it gave groups of people a space to air their viewpoint and perspective that, if not represented, were ostracized by mainstream sources. Within the ongoing Israel and Palestine conflict, the invention of the digital camera created a new avenue to view the conflict that was no longer mediated through the official channels like news networks or newspapers. When the Second Intifada broke out in 2000, the three major news networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, seldom mentioned the word occupation to describe the relationship between Israel and Palestine, as opposed to the First Intifada in the late 1980s, where the occupation was acknowledged.
Overseas today, Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank are observing the first anniversary of what they call the Intifada, the continuing revolt against the Israeli occupation.
As we see later in 2002, the Second Intifada was one of the most reported events of the year, and while the US media was mainly critical of both sides, it was more so critical to the Palestinian side, especially to the Palestinian Liberation Organization's leader, Yasser Arafat, failing to understand that what had transpired was an autonomous uprising on the part of the Palestinian people without the approval of official organizations. Jumping forward to 2006, the Intifada had ended, yet the occupation continued. In the Palestinian village of Bilin, the growing Israeli settlements led to the construction of a new barrier that would separate the villagers from their agricultural lands. In response, the villagers launched a campaign of resistance against the construction. This movement was captured on the home recording devices of a fellow villager, Imad Bernat. What these cameras captured is what official news sources can or won't show, the conditions that make these struggles a necessity for survival. Through these lenses, we witness the daily lives of Palestinians, where their every moves are constantly being monitored and constrained by the Israeli state, such as protest marchers being shot at with rubber bullets and tear gas, as well as night raids carried out by the military against the village. The images showed the true reality of Palestine, that of it being an open-air prison where its people are subject to daily repression and abuse. Yet, behind these grim images, the documentary also shows hope and courage with its image. In Matt being able to put himself in danger of grave injury or even death, he captures the grassroots movement springing up around his village, and with his footage he is able to propagate the struggle, and in doing so gather support from other nearby villages, strengthening the movement, forcing the Israeli state to recognize it and compromise with it, lest it boils into a new intifada. In showing this movement, it conflicts with the typical image of Palestinian resistance, as gun-toting terrorists, fiercely loyal to whatever group they belong to. Rather, it shows that the resistance includes those from every walk of life, as the conditions of life under occupation forces all those to resist, whether with images or stones. One of the biggest themes of the documentary is that of Palestinian childhood. As the cameras were originally purchased to record the upbringing of Imad's children, they are intrinsically tied to the documentary. As explained in the opening, each board represents a certain phase in Israel and Palestine's relationship, in that the third son was born in September of 2000, the same day the Second Intifada exploded. Imad recounts the hospital his son was born in was filled with the dead and wounded, and how his childhood was shaped by a constant conflict and siege. One of the defining characteristics of Palestinian identity, that of occupation, was instilled within the children at such a young age, as we saw with one of Ahmad's boys, who was born around violence. We see how children, like the adults, are forced to interact with soldiers carrying assault rifles. The images of barbed wire, constant arrests, and raids are what informed the children of this world.
وبعدين أجوا من الدنيا وصاروا يطفطفوا وبعدين أجت شموا من ورا وأنا ما خفتش.
Due to this experience, the children are forced to join the resistance at an early age, as we see with the village children leading their own marches. It's a very personal view of Palestinian life that outsiders can't really capture themselves with the sporadic reporting of violence. As stated before, Palestinian identity is marked by occupation and being forced to resist this violence with your own violence. This documentary highlights this fact as it shows what it means to be a Palestinian child, to have your childhood be marked by both the joy of growing up and the terror of occupation. 5 broken cameras reveal the reality of Palestinian life that can only be captured by Palestinians themselves. With digital cameras, individuals such as Ahmad were able to capture this experience and show the truth to the entire world. It reveals what really makes Palestinian identity. It is the constant abuse of occupation and the need to resist against said abuse. And in doing so, Ahmad leads his own unique fight for the overall goal of Palestinian liberation.
ليش انت متشيل؟ ليش مبسوط؟